It's my job to show strength and power.
Babe, do you need help?
Kishap. In today's episode, we talk power relations in marriage. Join me as I engage with a relationship expert.
So it's about how do you retain your individuality and accept each other for who you are, but you come together and you co-create the us, we, and ours.
Someone who believes in 50-50.
It almost felt like the day that I put on that wedding gown, I became a different person. And I left myself behind at the altar.
Someone who got divorced because of power relations in their marriage.
If I make a decision, I'm going to be questioned that who's the man, who wears the pants.
And a stay-at-home dad.
I think what was important for myself and my wife was that we were there for each other.
Babe, so most of you know me as a stand-up comedian.
I saw a guy who had a sign that said, "I'm so angry, I made a sign." What?
Ntho sa tsebeng ke gore ke le timer, ya jola, and ke nagana wait for maybe one day le nna ke tla ba husband.
It's rough.
Hey, re tla bona. Join me as I find out what happens after the vows. Ladies and the gent, thank you so much for joining me. Welcome to Mikasa. Mikasa is Sukasa. Well, for as long as the interview, then it's back to my Casa alone. So today we're talking about power relations in marriage, decision-making, stuff like that. So before we get into it, I just have something for us to watch that I've put together, and then we can jump straight into it. Is that cool?
Yeah.
Perfect.
Partnership, equal partnership in everything.
Every decision that we take the decisions together.
There are certain decisions that will lean more on the one person than the other. I think we're in a season where I make a lot more decisions now.
We'll find ourselves sometimes in deadlock. And on that, I'll be the one who says, I'm deciding and I'll deal with the consequences. Sometimes she's not happy with it, but there must be a final say. Somebody must have a final say.
I think we've kind of identified our strengths between each other.
This is a democratic marriage, full on. Whatever decision, there's no one who has any power over anybody, and the views are really too.
So guys, based on what we watched, I want to know from you guys, what is the stance you have when it comes to decision making in the marriage? And I'm opening this up to the floor. Ayanda, you're smiling.
I'm always smiling. I'm always smiling.
Smile.
I think I identify with the couple that said they have a democratic marriage. My stance is democratic, and it really is about playing off each other's strengths. It hasn't always been like that. Can tell you now, when I first got into marriage 8 years ago, I remember, it's interesting, we're talking power dynamics, because I also think power kind of manifests itself in different things, right? So in this particular instance, it was about church, like going to church. So which church we're going to go to. So it's a week after we get married. Okay, so where are we going? And I'm like, I'm not going to church. He's like, no, but the Bible says. I'm like, no, but if you go to hell, we must all go to hell. Like, it doesn't work that way. So, look, it hasn't always been about finding each other in our strengths. It's been a journey. Initially, when I got into marriage, I think I was buried in the social expectations of what a wife should be, and what a marriage should be.
Exactly.
And so was he. So it took a while, but we got there in the end.
Andis,
Yes.
what is your stance? I'm very interested to know.
I used to have a stunt.
Yeah.
I'm divorced after 5 years of marriage. When I got into the marriage, I had an idea that he would lead and I'll follow, I'll submit. And
so your stance was more that the man should take the lead?
Yes, the man should take the lead. But in my marriage, it was the other way around. And because I married a person in the entertainment industry, so in terms of pay, I was more sustainable.
Okay.
And for some reason, the roles shifted financially.
So you became the
Yes.
the breadwinner.
The breadwinner, but a silent one, because you can't, express that.
I'm the hey,
Not necessarily that. Not to be either.
alpha wife.
Because it was not communicated, it was forced, by the situation, and I did not enjoy it at all. And I think it had bad results, which is why today I'm divorced.
Okay.
Yeah.
Dinan, my brother, what's your stance?
So almost 8 years ago, we as a family decided that we were tired of running from pillar to post. Working from 7 to 7, not seeing the kids, getting family and friends running around, picking them up from school, taking them to extramurals. We decided as a family that we needed to have one parent at home with the kids. And looking at career progressions, my wife was moving slightly faster than I was. I gladly put my hand up. It's like, cool, I get to stay at home and play with the kids. And it wasn't that at all. It was a lot of hard work, as I'm sure most of the moms can say,
Didn't you get any backlash for your decision?
I did. The funniest thing was at family functions, and you'd be introduced to somebody. It's like, what do you do? It's like, oh no, I'm a stay-at-home dad. Oh, so anyway, and that was literally the conversation, the end of the conversation. Yes. So it's culturally as well, it was very difficult.
Yes.
I come from a typical Indian family where my dad was the sole breadwinner. My mom was a housewife. I have a younger sister. And, getting your head wrapped around it when you're brought up that way is quite a difficult thing. To adjust, yeah.
I hear you. Paula, what's your stance on power relations within a marriage?
So I definitely picked up a little bit from everyone, and I agree that there is a point where we meet each other in the middle, okay? And it's not about one's better than the other. And often you hear the word compromise thrown around, that, I have to compromise and we have to meet each other, and I like to use the word contribution, because compromise has a negative connotation attached to it. Compromise, I feel I have to give up or give in to get something. And that's not what a relationship is about. You're both bringing different skill sets to the table, and sometimes the wife or the woman leads and the husband follows, and other times it's the other way around, because of your different strengths. So it's about how do you retain your individuality and accept each other for who you are, but you come together and you co-create the us, we, and ours.
I've put something together that talks about the topic we're talking about right now. So can we please just watch it and continue our conversation from there?
I'm gonna get us sushi for dinner.
I don't feel like sushi. Maybe like mkhodu, scopo, something hearty.
Didn't you say on a diet?
Puma ke sana with diet yam. Please undiyeke uphume ke diet yam. I'm on a cheat day.
Okay, fine. Look, okay? Rock, paper, scissors. If I win, we buy sushi like adults that pay taxes. If you win, we can buy taxi driver food and buy leather jackets.
Let's go.
Listen to Bakama.
So Ayanda, I couldn't help but think of you when we were watching that clip.
Why?
Because, it's a week, you've been married, Sunday morning, and you have to decide which church are we going to. I just saw you guys. So what are the power dynamics when it comes to reaching a final decision in your marriage?
It's communication, like just key communication. We'll back and forth. We'll seek counsel if we need to, but I don't think there's anything unique per se. I just think it's just about talking it out, and if we commit to it, and if the consequences are not so great, I'll still support you. But I think it's just mainly comms, just communicate.
Communicate. I love that. And this one? Yes. I want to know from you, right? I want to know from you. Within your marriage, I want to talk about the power shift happened, yes. When you became the sole breadwinner. Mm-hmm. How did that influence the decision making in your marriage,
I respected my ex-husband, so I fully trusted him, mm-hmm. even though sometimes I didn't agree with some of the decisions. But also because of the background I come from, where as my dad was very involved, he was very handy. As much as he worked, he still took care of us. He still washed the dishes, he still cooked, he still did everything. So where in my marriage, I was working, but also
had to do wifely duties.
Like, God, where's the break? Which one is this one?
Which one is this one?
But because when I walked into marriage, at the back of my head, I saw my mom submitting to a king. And I thought I would model that and it would work for me. But again, that was not communicated from both sides, that this is what I'm expecting. We sort of assumed that, we're all grown and we love each other, So we will just, magically just, fit into our roles. And it didn't work like that. So in decision making, he made most of the decisions. I sort of just, even though I would like, hey, it's not gonna, I just pray, girl.
So did you follow suit all the way, or at some point did you start going, I feel like I need to start making some decisions and take control, and then what happened?
Well, unfortunately, it didn't end well when I decided that, you know what, no.
Can I just add to that?
Yes.
I also think it's important for just people to know that for a lot of women, especially who come from backgrounds where there are certain cultural and traditional expectations of us, the power imbalance that then plays out in the marriage or the relationship is self-imposed. In my case, for instance, I went into marriage with a certain idea of what a wife should be, mm-hmm. right? And it almost felt like the day that I put on that wedding gown, I became a different person. And I left myself behind at the altar, right? And I now became a married woman. Oh. And now I must behave differently. I must do things differently. And so for me, even finding myself again was understanding that I was responsible, very much responsible, for imposing the societal, religious, traditional, cultural expectations on myself.
I love the fact that we're talking about different upbringing and culture and stuff like that. And Dean, that's what I want to know from you, is that what informed your stance?
It didn't matter what society said, what parents said to a degree, or what elders in the community said. It's like, listen, we married, we're trying to make this work, and we need to make the decisions that's best for us. And I think that's the stance we've taken all the way through. We were speaking about layers of tradition and cultures and everything. And, the stance that we've taken, we can actually see that those layers are actually changing with our kids.
Now that we've touched on this cultural dynamic, I want to touch on our cultural dynamic where, it's often mistaken that money should inform the power relation stance of a man.
When I look at some of the things that one has now come to learn, even about certain sayings in our culture, one in particular that says, I think that provider narrative has been misinterpreted, because actually what it meant was that when a boy child comes of a certain age, ngesintu, not ngesizulu, ngesintu, is he's given a cow to take responsibility of, right? The family gives him a cow to say, look after this cow. And as he looks after the cow and they see that he's looking after the cow well, he's then given another cow and then another cow and then another cow. And so I, as this beautiful maiden, see this young man who's coming of age and I'm seeing him with many cows. And that in turn interprets it as responsibility, because the more cows he had to look after meant that he was a responsible man, right? That is what ubuhle bendoda izinkomo zakhe actually means, is that his glory is in how he is responsible for what he's entrusted with. And so it's a pity that we've gotten to a place where this provider narrative speaks to finances when actually it speaks to responsibility for your family.
I really want to talk about some of the healthy ways that we can have power relations in our relationship. What are some of the, we've spoken about the toxic. What are some of the healthy ways we can have as couples?
So I generally, when I'm working with couples, I get them to sit down first of all and unpack what their expectations are of each other, but also of the relationship, because it does relate back to our upbringing, because that is our frame of reference, that is our benchmark. It's in the relationship world, it's called, so we use imago relationship therapy, and imago is the Latin word for image or picture. And it's that image or picture that we create in our minds of what love and relationship should look like based on our upbringing of our primary caregivers, so our parents, and how they were in a relationship. And we carry that picture with us into our own relationships, which is where the differences come in. So you need to understand each other's upbringing and expectations, because that's often what causes a lot of conflict, is unmet expectations. Because your priorities and outlook on life changes. And if you don't regularly check in with each other, how are we doing? Are we still on the same page? Are we aligned? You end up growing apart instead of together.
Oh, I love that. I love the part that you mentioned about checking in with each other. I feel like that's important. And I feel like for me, in my marriage, that's what I would want to have. I would want to have every 2 years or however, let's check in. Every year, let's check in. Let's see, review.
Exactly.
Let's everyone can sit with the clipboard. Your shirts don't fit anymore.
Because now that I'm open to dating again, like I look at patterns.
Yes.
I look at in those dates, in those like, this is not, my experience in marriage really changed how I see my role, but I still don't want to lead. In marriage, I don't want to change the globe. I don't want to change the tire.
So this is what I want to know from you. So now, with you dating again and hopefully getting married again sometime in the future, do you feel like you're going to have that conversation prior?
Definitely prior, and just to see, am I even compatible?
Yes.
Because the person could be compatible to me and I'm not compatible to them, and it doesn't necessarily mean they're a bad person or I'm a bad person. It just means combos are mixed match.
Dinan, how have you fought off all these societal pressures that have come your way?
I think it all boils down back to what I said earlier, is that we concentrate on our family unit.
Yeah.
And I think that's the important part, is not giving in to the Joneses.
Yeah.
Or the Koalos, depending which side you look at it.
Depending on your location.
Yes, but it's just doing what's best for your family.
Yeah.
And I think that was key to our success, and I think we are successful as a family. And I think that was definitely pivotal to our success, is worrying about our core family structure and not trying to fall victim to keeping up with everybody, trying to have the best or be the best or whatever it is, but doing the best for our family. And I think that's a stance we've taken, and that's worked perfectly for us so far.
Is your wife happy?
I would hope so. She's still with me.
Are your kids happy?
Definitely. I mean, our kids, they love it.
It goes back to what you say.
Yeah.
There you go.
The epitome of
Happy wife, happy life.
Exactly.
I just want to know, Paula, when it comes to choosing a partner, right? Because I'm sure there are a lot of ladies out there who are going, yo, I want a D-man. I want a D-man.
Just to let you know that after God made me, he broke the mold, unfortunately. So I'm just putting that out there. I'm just putting that out there.
So I want to know, Paula, what should people consider when it comes to choosing a partner in terms of, in consideration of power relations?
You've got to look at what's important to you.
Yes.
And be very clear on that. And then be able to be strong enough and courageous enough to go, no, that's not for me. Next. Swipe left, swipe right.
Hey, swipe left, swipe right. You see, the married people don't know what swipe left, swipe right is. You know, when it comes to the topic of power relations, I love how we all come from different backgrounds, but we were all able to agree on certain things. You know, going into relationships, we need to establish and be upfront with our partners. This is who I am. This is what I need. This is this responsibility should rest on this person, should rest on this person. And the most beautiful thing I got out of our conversation today is that, you know, a man's worth is not determined by his wealth, but rather how well he looks after his family. I think culturally as men, and I speak on behalf of my gender, with this culture of toxic masculinity, we've been raised to believe that a man should be the head of the house, a man should provide, a man should. And I feel like the world we're living in has changed, and we should adapt. You know, ladies are making more money than men these days. You know, we can't be raising young men that are going, but what do I do if I find a lady who makes more money than me? I think the powerful thing about a marriage is we're a unit. You know, we're a marriage. And that's what I love about your story, Dinan, is that in your marriage, you don't have oh no, I should be this, my wife should be this. You guys find a way to make it work. And here you are, happy kids. Good luck on your date.
Open for blind dates. If you know a friend who knows a friend.
Oh, guys, this journey to deciding if I'm going to get married or not is not an easy one. There are so many things, but thank you so much for joining us on After the Vows. From me and my beautiful guests, did I get it right? Good night. Good night.